We have different brainwave states. Right now, I believe we're in beta state. Then sleeping, we have theta and alpha, and then a really deep transformational state is gamma. But normally we stay in theta. Theta is when you're praying, when you're meditating, right before you fall asleep, right when you wake up, kind of that little hazy, flowy feeling that you have in your mind. Or it could be achieved with hypnosis. So we bring you into a theta state. And it's important to be in theta state because that's when your mind is suggestible, meaning it's going to take your commands.
Welcome to the Awaken Magazine podcast, where we feature influential conscious leaders who share the real stories behind their spiritual journey and how they're helping others awaken to love. I'm your host, David Trotter, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Krystal Rose. She is a subconscious and somatic reprogramming practitioner. And in our conversation, she shares with us how talk therapy and medicine isn't always enough to help us experience the healing that we're truly longing for. She shares with us how she overcame decades of anxiety and depression through plant medicine, rapid transformational therapy, otherwise known as RTT, and other modalities, and how she is now utilizing her own method called the neurosomatic rewiring method to help her clients get to the root causes of the challenges in their life and experience true, long-lasting healing and transformation. Now, if you enjoy spiritual conversations that go beyond the surface, you're in the right place. And I would encourage you to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Click subscribe and perhaps leave a rating or a review. That's an easy way for you to help us spread the word about these inspiring interviews that we release each and every week. And also, share with a friend. Yeah, somebody would really benefit by hearing my conversation with Krystal, and you can share it with them. All right, let's dive into this interview with Krystal Rose. Krystal, it's great to be with you today. Thanks so much for taking time to connect and be with us.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I know one of the things that you share is that you experienced a couple of decades of anxiety and depression. And so I'm curious about how that started to kind of come into your life at I assume, an early age, and how that impacted you. And even specifically, what are the resources that you sought for help in the process?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, it was at a young age. At 15, I was diagnosed with chronic and clinical depression and anxiety. However, it started at a much younger age. I remember the feeling of depression uh, in elementary school.
Hmm.
And at the time, I didn't know what it was or how to recognize it, but it was very prevalent. I remember parent teacher conferences and the teachers asking my mother, like, what's wrong with her?
Hmm.
So it was a very young age when it started. And um, luckily, I was able to go to some sort of therapy, talk therapy, and try to resolve it. In high school, I dealt with it, it got worse in high school, and insomnia started then. So a lot of lack of sleep, which created a lot of chaos in the mind and made it hard to focus at school. I'm not sure how I graduated or got into college, to be honest. My senior year was a blur just because of all the medications that I was on. So I didn't really recall a lot of things. But I do remember at the time of the diagnosis and receiving treatment that my therapist or psychiatrist said that I would be this way forever. And I would need to be on medication forever and probably therapy forever. And I know today therapists probably wouldn't dare say that, but back then it came out and it really that alone had an impact on me.
How did you receive that? Like, what did you do when they said that to you?
So reflecting on it now with the work that I've done now, reflecting on that moment, I received it as a not a death sentence, but just an end of life, like a life ruiner, to where because I didn't want to feel that way. But what it did to me was tell me that my story was permanent. And what my story was, because we kept going over the trauma that I was aware of, we would go over. And the way that it was, the way that I was perceiving it was, I'm a victim. I am a hurt person, and I'm going to be like this forever.
Mm.
So it really had a strong impact on my young mind in hearing that this is who you are now, and that's
Mm.
not going to change.
So I heard you went to therapy, you were on meds. Um, Anything else you explored, and then ultimately, like, what helped you the most?
Yeah. So in high school and college, I self-medicated. I was never I never messed with like recreational drugs because I was pretty scared of them. And I grew up in a Christian household, so that alone kept me away from stuff. But alcohol I used to put me to sleep and to forget. So that was a problem when I graduated and got a job at a corporation. And it was a new environment for me, something that I hadn't been a part of before. So I told myself, "Be like, you know what? I'm going to make it. I'm going to do something about it." And I came across self development, and I got really into self development. And it did help me for a bit. It helped give me a little bit of stabilization, new perspectives, new mindset um, that I wanted to have. And I really I grasped onto it, but eventually, a few years in, um, it caught up with me. The anxiety and depression came in again. I was married. I was on paper. I looked great. I had a six-figure job. I was traveling for work. I was in my 20s, owned a home. But I remember driving to work and driving from work, and I was just having anxiety attacks and
Mhm.
having to self-medicate again to go to sleep. So I tried a route my early 20s with self-development, and went back to therapy and medication. And in 1 year, it kind of all came falling apart. And I believe I asked God for a change, and God delivered. I got divorced, lost my job, lost my home, all in like 3 months.
Oh my goodness. Mm.
Yeah.
And
And
so, what ultimately ended up helping you have a breakthrough?
besides rock bottom, no, I really did have to. I did hit a very low. And I came to a thought of either figure it out or end your life, because I didn't want to be suffering anymore. And that story of this is going to be your life forever, no matter how many self-help books you read, was really there. And I, in my gut feeling, I knew that wasn't true, and I knew there was an answer out there. So on that quest to find healing, I discovered NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and that really helped create some shifts. I got trained in it, started coaching other people. I learned cognitive behavior therapy and EFT and all these other acronyms. And I felt like I was collecting certifications like Pokemon. It's just, um, I was gaining a lot of really great tools. I was doing yoga and breath work, so somatic work, not really knowing fully what I was doing. But I recall one time I was in yoga, and we had finished the session, and we were going through the calming, the meditative state, and I would just start bawling, and I didn't know why, but it was emotional release. And
Mhm.
I was starting to put together the pieces that there is a way to healing, and you're finding it, but you need to go deeper. And in asking God, okay, show me how to do that. I want to know what the source of the depression is, because I felt everything. And what came up was actually several times in a year, I kept hearing the message ayahuasca, which is a sacred medicine or a psychedelic medicine, however you want to see that. I saw it as a sacred medicine, and I treated it like that. I found a place in Peru. I followed the diet uh, I got off medication. So I worked with a psychiatrist to get off medication safely, told her why I was doing that. She wasn't super happy about it, but she worked with me. Um, the place I prepared 3 months in advance. And when I got there, I had an incredible experience. Uh, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about plant medicine, and the first response I get is like, "Oh, did you throw up?" They always think about the physical symptoms of it. But really, what that medicine did was it allows you to go into a deep theta state. It brings down the filters, the walls, the protective things that we keep up that I wasn't letting go in talk therapy, that I wasn't able to push through in somatic work. And I went to the source. And surprisingly, to my surprise, anyways, it wasn't the event. I did come across the events, but the events didn't have the impact on me like I thought they would have. I thought I was going to be reliving horrible things, but it was my perception of that event that I created at 5 years old, at 6 years old. And that belief created my whole programming. And the belief was, I'm not safe. I can't trust others, and I can't trust myself.
Mm.
And I didn't know that existed. And that explains a lot why I sabotaged things, why I couldn't let go of the depression, why I created the depression in the first place. And so that was the turning point for me. That was the biggest tool that I had, to understand where it was all coming from. Now, it doesn't cure everything, so I'm not saying, go to Peru and you'll come back a healed person, but it showed me what I needed to know.
Hmm. And so when you came home from that trip,
Mhm.
how was life initially different? And then how did you like follow that up? Was there integration? Was there other modalities? Were there breakthrough moments that you found, or was it more gradual?
I think there was a lot of breakthroughs at the retreat. I was there for 12 days and did 9 ceremonies. So it was a lot
9
of
ceremonies.
yes. I don't recommend
Wow.
that, but it was
Wow.
yeah. I,
My
I
goodness.
really wanted to heal.
Yeah, that was intense.
It was very intense, and I don't think I needed that many ceremonies now that I understand how it all works. But when I came back, I didn't leave my house for a week because I was just too overwhelmed by all the downloads, the insights that I got. And I didn't know, I guess I didn't do my research well because I didn't know that integration would be a thing. So when I talked to a friend and she's like, "Oh, how's your integration going?" And I'm like, "What?"
Huh?
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. My ceremony, it took me like 2 years to integrate." I'm like, "Oh, well, I need to get on that." Yeah. Yeah. And so integration is just, it's processing the insights. And then it's now it's like, okay, how do I take these insights, this new belief that I have? I released that old belief. I recognize I had it. I recognize I don't need it. And I recognize what new belief I want to have. And now, how do I integrate that to my life? And what does that even look like? How do I show up differently? What patterns am I changing? What do I need to be mindful of to see if I'm being aligned with the new belief I want to have? And so that, because I did so much and had so many downloads and had a lot of, this was years ago, and things are still showing up. But the first thing I worked on was the self trust, because that was the first message that I got. And so with that came the techniques that I learned through NLP and cognitive behavior therapy, lo- uh, somatic work, feeling what self trust looks like, locking that in, visualizing that, practicing, calming down the body. And I saw in the first few months, it was hard up and down. There's a lot of like regression, a lot of confusion, and even a little bit more depression. But then it started to lighten up, and I started to see things a lot more clearly, and I started to notice my patterns a lot. I started to make the changes, and I can visibly see like, okay, I am different now, and I feel more at peace. I haven't taken medication since before I started that retreat, and I'm so grateful. I've deepened my relationship with God. I've released a lot of the toxic patterns that I had. Um, I have a lot more clarity and stability than what I had before. So it took time.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I know is I can't believe I did that on my own. And I think if I didn't have the training prior, if I wasn't coaching before and I didn't know those tools, it wouldn't have gone the same way.
Hmm.
So yeah, go ahead.
Do you find that you still um, need to become aware or address those rhythms or patterns of depression and anxiety in your life even now?
The patterns from the anxiety and depression, yes. Those patterns were created and were there for a very long time. And when the patterns show up, I remind myself, this isn't the depression coming back. This is just um, the old programming, like the ghost programming that you were the shadow. And so when it comes up, I give myself grace and say like, okay, there's still more work to be done. How can I use this? Or it's the depression doesn't come back, but patterns can arise, and I'll say, oh, okay, it's okay. You lived 30 years with this pattern. We just need to keep working on it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Talk to me about rapid transformational therapy.
Yes.
What is this, and how has it impacted your own life, and how do you utilize it now to help your clients?
Yeah. So I'm a rapid transformation therapy practitioner, and rapid transformation therapy, or RTT, was created by Marissa Peer, who's a therapist and a hypnotherapist, and she did a fabulous job at what I felt was creating a very similar process to psychedelic medicine. I was looking for something. Once I saw the changes that were happening to me, I really wanted to bring that to other people. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't just bring everyone to Peru. I think I tried that for a few months. I'm like, hey, yeah, you should go to Peru, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, no,
You
it's
became a
it,
Peru evangelist.
yes, yes, and it's not for everyone. So what I started to look for was, okay, I need to find a modality that could help people in the same manner. And I looked at breath work, I looked at somatic, I looked at EFT, like more advanced training. And while they're all very necessary and beautiful tools, the RTT really seemed to have the structured foundation, the structured model that I needed to help people navigate their subconscious mind. And so I started bringing that into, so now we're not just doing coaching and mentoring anymore with my clients. We combine the two together. So we will have these deep RTT sessions, go into the subconscious to find the limiting belief that they are not aware about. I work with clients who they've been going to therapy for years or doing inner work, and they know what happened in their childhood, and they have a lot of logic behind why they are, but they still can't change. Well, the answer is it's not, it's you still don't truly know what you're holding on to. And so we find that in the subconscious mind. We look at it at the lens as at when it was first created. So sometimes, most of the time, it's when they're children, 0 to 7. Uh, but it can be at older years too. But we'll look at it at that, and people get surprised at the how far back they can go in their memories.
Hmm.
And when they get there, they're not reliving it, even though they can feel the emotions, but they can see the mindset they had, the perception that they had when someone said something, or they noticed something, or someone did something, and the belief that was created. So this RTT session is really powerful, and it helps you identify what the clear intention is, what the source, the root cause of the belief that's causing the anxiety, the eating disorder, the people pleasing, and then gives you agency to, I can release this because I realize I created it and it's not serving me anymore. So bye bye, I'm releasing you. And I'm also going to replace you with something that's better protecting me.
Walk us through an RTT session, kind of from beginning to end. You said it was a very structured approach. It sounds like hypnotherapy a bit. I don't have background in it, so tell me all
Sure.
about it.
There's a lot of hypnotherapy aspects to it, but there's hypnotherapy. neurolinguistic programming techniques, cognitive behavior therapy, a lot of things, regression therapy, all into one awesome session. And everyone does it, may do some slight differences, but with my sessions, typically I see us, we'll talk for a bit and find out. Some people come with a full list of things that they want to change, and we're like, let's just focus on one.
How
Yeah.
about one?
Yeah. And I try to get them down to a clear, why do I resist change? Why do I sabotage my relationship? So something a little bit more specific. And then we'll use hypnotherapy to go into a theta state. So our brain waves, we have different brainwave states. Right now, I believe we're in beta state. Then sleeping, we have theta and alpha, and then a really deep transformational state is gamma. But normally we stay in theta. Theta is when you're praying, when you're meditating, right before you fall asleep, right when you wake up, kind of that little hazy, flowy feeling that you have in your mind. Or it could be achieved with hypnosis. So we bring you into a theta state. And it's important to be in theta state because that's when your mind is suggestible, meaning it's going to take your commands. So I assure the person that I am not taking over their mind. I'm helping them navigate their own mind to find their own conclusion. Even though I have like, oh, I wonder if it's this. I don't share my opinions. They need to find it on their own. So we go into theta state with hypnosis, kind of like an induction, which is maybe I take you down the stairs, maybe I take you down an elevator, but we're going deep into the internal. One thing that I don't think is part of RTT, but I've incorporated is I first take you to a safe place in your mind. It's very essential to know that you are in control. And if something happens that you don't like, you could always go back to your safe space. That way, we don't interrupt the whole session and we can continue to work if they're ready to. So, after we create a safe space, then we'll go start looking into what the subconscious wants to reveal that has to do with the question you're asking. So, if it's what's the source of my anxiety, um, then we're asking command your mind to reveal to you a puzzle piece, a little crumb, something that has to do with why you experience anxiety today. And anywhere from 5 to 10 memories will go through, depending on how your body reacts. Sometimes it's not memories, sometimes it's feelings and emotions. Sometimes it's a thought. But I would say with me, most people go back to memories and we go through back and forth through ages, different times. And it's always surprising to the client what comes up. So after we visit this, we don't want any analysis of what memory come up. Like, I don't know why this is coming up. Don't worry. Just explain, how are you feeling? What are you seeing?
And their eyes
Uh,
are closed and they're kind of just in a hypnotic, meditative state as they're articulating what they're seeing.
Correct, correct.
Mhm.
It is conversational, so they are articulating, and I'm asking questions.
Mhm.
I usually have them have an eye mask on if they feel safe
Mhm.
doing so.
Mhm.
So the session itself is about an hour and a half, and it goes by pretty quickly. Uh, so once we visit these memories and we're getting maybe little beliefs that were created there, finding out what it is, then we go and connect the dots. So they'll go through and say, "Oh, I had this memory, and this person said that, and that's when that told me that, oh, I'm not safe."
Mhm.
And oh, this other memory told me this, is like, oh, I was rejected, that I'm not enough. And so we go through that, and there's so much more to it, but essentially we get to the place where, why did you create the anxiety? And so I'm at then they'll say, oh, I created the anxiety because of this. That's very different than going to a therapy office and then telling them like, oh, you have anxiety disorder or it's hereditary. This gives a person like, oh, I created this. And
Mm.
most likely they created it out of protection. And so when they realize that, they can choose to release it or hold on to it or repurpose it. Most of the time, they want to release it. Occasionally, someone's like, I'm not ready because it is keeping me safe.
Wow.
And I said, okay, yeah.
Do you have clients that can't get to that place of hearing, like they maybe get to the memory, but they can't like understand why they created the anxiety, or you know what I mean, like that deeper level. Do you have people that are kind
The,
of locked up?
there can be a bit of a struggle for some, and that's where NLP comes in, because we need, as a practitioner, we need to start rephrasing without assuming, because maybe it wasn't. Very rarely, if they can't get there, it's because that's not actually the real problem. And so with our line of questioning, we try to figure that out while helping them to, for it there to be like a little click or a shift, like, oh yes, no, you're right. I actually remember exactly when I created it. So I think I've had one client who really struggled, and that was because they were not ready. They were actually
Hmm.
were they weren't completely honest in their intake form, and they needed to see a psychiatrist before seeing me.
Hmm.
And I do work with psychiatrists. Yeah.
What are the types of major challenges that are the most common for clients as they're coming to you? Like, what's the presenting issue?
Yeah. I would say the top ones is definitely anxiety, feeling stuck or overwhelmed, or burnout, and just burnout from feeling stuck. And I work with a lot of or business owners or healers. So self-sabotaging and imposter syndrome are the biggest ones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that a lot of them can have like major breakthroughs even in the first session. Like,
Mhm.
what are some examples of that? Like, I mean, obviously, you want people to keep going deeper and experience more healing, but how could that first session, like, even, I guess I kind of see it as a payoff. You know what I mean? So much of, I've been to a lot of therapy myself, and literally months after months after months, it's like, is there ever going to be a payoff to this? You know? What I'm hearing from you is there could be a payoff even in the first session.
Yes. I'd say 99.9% there is a payoff, because you get insights into the belief. We always find the belief, except for that one instance, but we always find the belief. So there's always this like, I didn't know that I was holding on to that. That makes sense why none of this other stuff that was logical worked. So that being said, we do find you do get results in one session, but you might have many beliefs. And so people come back because they're like, oh, I want to work on this belief, or I want to work on this area now. So I have anxiety, but why do I people please? It's like, okay, so let's go into that. So I will have packages of 6 to 12 sessions. Some people just want to try it, and then they'll usually convert to a larger package, but because they get that those results in one session.
Hmm. Describe to us what's going on in someone's mind and their body and their spirit, like as they're under this in this hypnotic state. What's going
Yeah.
on? I don't know. I just am curious, like behind the scenes, what's going on with them?
It's different for everyone. I would say many of the clients are scared and anxious at first.
Hmm.
I've had someone where we went to the safe place, and then we start going down more stairs in an elevator, and they just like, I can't do this. And I said, well, go to the safe place. And it's like, okay. They go to the safe place, and then they go, okay, I'm ready. And so we'll continue down. And once we get down, they're like, oh, this isn't that bad. So, yeah. So I think there's the initial part is surrendering to, I
Hmm.
don't know what's down there. I don't know what's gonna reveal, but I'm willing to do it anyways. Act of love. And I let them know that, like, you are so brave and so loving on yourself right now to have to even just take that chance, not knowing. So the initial is the surrendering. Then there is revisiting. A lot of in their mind. I think there's confusion, and then all the emotions, anger, sadness. In the body, they'll feel it, and we'll work on that too. Where do you feel it in the body? And so they become very aware of where it is. Oh, it's in the shoulders, it's in the head, it's in the stomach, it's in the gut. It's around the heart. And so I take note of all of these different things. Now in the spirit really is not getting any attention, any love at that point. Me on my end, I'm seeing this and I'm loving all of it. Cause I'm like, you're doing it. You know, everything that's happening today is for you. This is all part of the process, part of your journey. I'm so grateful to be part of your journey. That's all going through my head, even when they're crying or crying or sad. So now, because this is hard and there's a lot of negative feeling emotions, we do end the session with removing and regulating the body and feeling good. So when they wake up, at that point, there is a connection to spirit and a connection to gratitude. I make sure that they thank the anxiety that they created, that they know that, hey, do you know how powerful you are? You created this and it hung on for 20 years. Like that's how powerful you are. So recognize how powerful you are. So they wake up, I would say between like, okay, you know, that was good. I'm happy that I uncovered that too. Wow, I'm really empowered right now. I kicked that anxiety's butt. You know, there's a variety of different emotions, but the goal is for them to feel a sense of relief and empowerment when they do end the session.
Hmm. You seem to me almost like a detective who is trying to navigate through someone's consciousness and memories to help them unlock this. Like, what's going on in your head? Are your eyes closed? Are your eyes open? How are you feeling during this process? Are you excited? Are you inquisitive? Sad?
I I do close my eyes often, but I'm also taking notes. So because I'm trying to tune into what's the right question to ask them. And I also need to look at their body and pay attention to that. I can do it virtually. So if it's virtual, I'll make sure I can see as much of them as possible. I'm listening to their tone. I'm listening to a lot of different things. So I'm very alert on the whole situation, and I just want to show up for them and be the best navigator without also trying to lead the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I don't get sad that often because I know that this is good for them. Once in a while, it'll sound like such a story similar to mine, and I will feel sad for my inner child, but I also know it's not me, so I don't take that energy on.
Hmm. Why do you do this? Why do you do what you do?
I remember it was I spent most of my life in that darkness. I spent half of my life, more than half of my life in that darkness, and I don't ever want to forget it either. It's still very vivid. I can tap into those emotions and those feelings, but I also know what the light feels like. For me, the darkness was despair, hopelessness, frustration, anger, uh, feelings of unworthiness and incompetence, and ideas that love is earned and I'm not safe. And being on this end, walking around knowing that that everything's happening for me, uh, makes me love life. And I feel like I was born into a family where just natural helpers. We're always helping people, so that comes naturally. But this actually works. And if I can help someone who's feeling even half of what I felt, even 10% of what I felt, overcome that, then I want to. That is my purpose for now. Yeah.
Mhm. Beautiful. One of the things you have talked about is self love, loving oneself. Um, I would love to even hear how would you, I don't know if it's define is the right word, but what do you mean by loving yourself? What does it mean to love myself? And if I'm not naturally prone to love myself, how can I do that?
That's a great question because when I uncovered that I didn't love myself, and that was an ayahuasca ceremony, that I needed that love was the answer. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what that means. So I got to go on a journey of what that is. Self love is so important because we are groomed to look externally for it, But if we don't know how to give it to ourselves, we are going to settle for different. We attract what we know. So if we don't fully love ourselves, we're going to attract things that don't fully love us as well. So self-love, there's so many different aspects to it. But if we think about um, first starting out with self-awareness, and that it includes self-exploration. What are my boundaries? What are my values? What does respect look like? What does self-care look like? What does not abandoning myself look like? What does trusting myself, listening to my inner voice look like? All of those things are attached to self-love. So if you are weak in self-love, you're going to be weak in all those other things. And also, I call it the love loop. What we have internally, we also project, and we the universe mirrors that for us, or God mirrors that for us. So if we find ourselves attracting people who are unemotionally available, that's a reflection on what's going on with us. So focusing and healing and working on and building self-love within ourselves will only transpire good things out into the world, where we're having people reciprocate the same type of love that we are able to give to ourselves. We'll have a standard of what love looks like. We'll have be able to honor our boundaries because we love ourselves and make decisions based off how off self-love. So I don't think there's a solid definition that I've found that I like to clarify what it is, but it is the foundation of creating the life that you love. Yeah.
Mhm. And so if I don't naturally have this sense of self love that you talked about, what would be a first couple of steps that
Yeah.
I would need to take?
So when I teach the self-love classes, I talk about a few things on how to do just that. And one of them is the self-awareness, self-acceptance, acceptance of this is where I'm at right now. The behaviors I like, these are not the behaviors that I like, but this is where I'm at right now. Self inner trust, it's helping to build that. So inner trust is hearing your voice, knowing your boundaries, and then following through with that. So I would say start with become aware of, so practice mindfulness. And ask yourself the question, am I doing this out of love, or am I doing this out of fear? So if someone asks you to do something and you're hesitating, but you're do it because you tell yourself you're a people pleaser, you identify as a people pleaser, but you want to build self-love, I would tell people, okay, stop. Are you going to do this because out of fear that you're not going to be accepted, fear that you're going to be rejected, fear that you're going to make someone angry? Or are you doing this out of love, just because you want to, and this will make you happy, and this, are you doing this fear-based or love-based? So that's the easiest intro into building self-love, is becoming aware if you're doing it out of love or fear.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think about that. The word fear, oftentimes the word for me that comes into mind is performance. Am I
Mhm.
performing in a way to somehow gain, and I'm performing out of fear, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm worried that they're not going to like me or approve of me or give me whatever I think I need or something like that. Um, hmm. A lot of the things that you're talking about, especially with RTT, hypnotherapy, are a bit newer, right? I don't know when Marissa came up with that.
It wasn't that long
Wait,
ago.
it's
It
been
has 10 years or less.
10 years or less. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's so many other things with somatic therapy, somatic release therapy. What are some perhaps outdated
Mhm.
beliefs or narratives when it comes to mental health or healing trauma in our lives that maybe people are listening? Maybe our parents have those beliefs or narratives that were passed down to us about mental health, psychology, therapy, healing. But what are some of those that you would want to point out to people that are, this is outdated. We don't, we it would be best to release this thought.
There are a lot. uh, I think that focusing on one modality, even myself, if I said RTT is the answer, That's what I have a problem with, because healing, there's no, oh, I'm a healed woman. There's this, I'm healing. It's just always a process. Um, for those who believe in that prayer heals, prayer is very powerful, but prayer alone does not heal. I think there's the concept that there's one modality to save you is outdated.
That's, I would even say that's a challenge now, Krystal, because for someone who's teaching whatever that modality is, it almost feels like in our culture, you need to say, this is the best modality. This is but in order to market it. Because if I was to come to market and go, well, RTT is super helpful, but there's a lot of other good
Yeah.
ways to do it. It's not as powerful.
You're absolutely right. And I actually, I struggle with that for a very long time. And the healers that I work with struggle with that too, because they believe that sound healing, like this is the modality that changed my life. And yet there's still a lot of struggle, and they know that. And so but they don't want to learn other modalities. And it kind of goes against what they were saying, which like, this is the healing thing. Um, I recognize that. I learned RTT is great and I love Marissa. It's not complete. It's missing the a full somatic aspect to it, and it's missing the integration coaching or the integration afterwards. Now, Marissa also has a RTT coaching, rapid transformation coaching. So I think she did figure that out. But I know that I'm not the one stop shop either. Now, because I recognize that, I did, and I am integrating all those tools in it. I have created a method called neurosomatic rewire method, which includes all of those modalities. But I still, I mean, I'm not going to go and get certified in all these other things and bring him. I won't be a master of anything. But yes, that's absolutely correct. I don't like when people say reset your nervous system in 5 days, or 30-day challenge to manifest your dreams. Those are really hard, and yet we all click on them. I've downloaded many of those little cheat sheets, and it's unfair. But some people will also say, "Well, Krystal, that's how we get them in the door, and then we can let them know here's all the other things." And while that may be true, we're creating this problem that you just said, where it's still an ongoing problem. People are still going to put out that clickbait essentially, and if we all have to compete on that, then we have to be doing it too. It's unfair,
Yeah.
in a
In
sense. Yeah.
reality, we would hope that as people are learning and growing, they go, this is one among many things, and I've got to find my own path. And like for me, I've done a lot of talk therapy, as you would call it, and then I've had probably 25 sessions of somatic release therapy that was incredibly helpful for me. And then psilocybin and MDMA, and and each one feels like it's another piece of the puzzle that's helping me in a different way. So I think I would hope people kind of become discerning, uh, consumers to go, oh, okay, I see that what this person's doing. It's one more piece of the puzzle that I could enjoy.
I think in a perfect world, every healer would say that the reason why your journey is not over is because you just did the psilocybin and therapy retreat, and you got all these downloads. You released some things, so now you're a different version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That new version is going to have different parts to work on,
Yeah.
and so the journey never actually ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago. I'm working on different things. So I could have done a 30-day challenge, and it could definitely provide value, but my journey is not over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I also love to have the perspective of when I see the 5-day thing or the 30-day thing or whatever it is to go, oh, rather than me putting that down, I actually just go, that's going to be helpful for a certain person in a certain season of life, as it was for me. Or this thing that You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and hey, we're all learning, we're all growing, we're trying to find our way, and I don't know. I just try to extend grace for all of that, and so.
It's all helpful. I think well, it's not all helpful, but I think there's more helpful than it is. People will figure it out. They're gonna get what they need from it, and that's what I tell most people at the when they're so confused on what to work on. I said, just ask yourself in the morning, what do I need today?
Hmm.
Today you need an RTT session. The next day, I just need to stay in bed. I just need to relax. I just need to listen to some nice music. And if you ask yourself each day, what is it do I need today? Then that will help you to progress slowly. Maybe it was that 30-day challenge that you needed, but maybe today it's something else.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I know that people can work with you in a number of different ways. You've got coaching, you've got retreats that are coming up, you're launching a podcast. Talk to us about this. If someone's interested in coaching, what would be a good next step for them?
Yeah, if someone's interested in coaching or just simply wants to ask about RTT or Crystal, I resonated with what you said. There's so many different modalities. Where should I start? What's better? Do I start with somatic first, or do I start with RTT first, or should I go on this retreat? If you just have a question, or if you're genuinely interested, I'm ready to uncover the root cause. I have free 20-minute clarity calls. That's your time to ask me whatever it is that you like. Maybe I'm not the person for you at your journey right now, but I might know something I could suggest that would help you on your journey. I've gone through a lot of different modalities. And I know a lot of great practitioners too who could help.
Wonderful. And you've got some retreats coming up. Talk to us about what makes your retreat different than all the different other retreats that are out there.
Yes. I'm sure there are other treats similar, but I have yet to find them. So, beautiful thing about retreats is you go there, a safe space most of the time to tune into yourself, to give to yourself, to release some things, and then you get back and you're back in the reality that you created and you regress. And you spent 5 grand on the retreat. Beautiful, beautiful moment, but what if you can't do that every 3 months to get restored? So in this retreat that we'll be hosting, we one's coming up, but we'll have more throughout the year. This retreat is designed. It's called Release and Rewire. So the goal of it is to come and get the somatic release, get the subconscious release, get the conscious having the conversation. What I didn't realize at the time was healing does not happen by yourself; it happens in community. So this is a time to get that community that you need, not only in the retreat, but before. We have 1 month of coaching prior. We have the retreat to do the hard work slash release and restore. And then we have 2 months of one-on-one and group training to continue that integration part. So you're going to get tools that you can take on to continue the work on your own, some suggestions, resources, introduction to other types of healing modalities that I don't offer, and find what's the tool that you need for your journey right now.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
I also want to draw to people's attention because we didn't talk about it too much that you also offer sacred medicine integration sessions. So if someone
Yes.
has gone to a medicine ceremony at somebody's house or at a retreat center, that they can come to you to do some of that integration work.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because while there are starting to now be more integration coaches, most retreat centers that you go to do not offer integration coaching. So you can go there, receive the medicine, but if you do not integrate, you do not work on those insights that continue to process them, you can regress back. Um, I wouldn't say you go worse than when you first started, but it's hard when you are not processing the insights with someone who can guide you through, kind of like how I do it with navigating your subconscious mind, helping you navigate your thoughts and insights. So I offer integration coaching for those who've in the past had some experiences. maybe it wasn't even a good experience, and helping you process that. Because I think every psychedelic experience, there's still, you get what you needed, even if it wasn't fun. So
Mhm.
I do like to offer those services as well. And I do work with a few different psychedelic organizations. So if you are interested in learning more about that, I can. I don't provide the medicine myself. We leave that to the people who are trained and experienced and provide a safe environment for that. But integration, if you don't choose to work with me, please look into integration with anybody else, because doing the medicine alone is not going to get you to where you want to go. And you'll find yourself wanting to return over and over again just to feel that feeling that you received when you were in it, without actually bringing it into your life.
And you got a new podcast coming out. What's the name of the
Yes.
podcast? When can people find it?
Yes, it's called The Rewired Self. So, the goal of this podcast is to, just like you're doing, hosting amazing people uh, who, in this sense, are practitioners who can provide insights in how to rewire your mind body. So anywhere from those who work with nervous system regulation, chiropractors. Never would have thought that they work with the nervous system. I thought they just cracked bones, but they're really essential to helping to regulate the nervous system. Acupuncturists, neurointelligence practitioners. So we'll be hosting different types of practitioners, healers on this podcast to give you insights into how to reprogram, rewire your mind and body through different healing modalities. Because as we know, healing is not linear. There's not one solution that's going to help, and it's a journey. So happy to provide those tips from experts.
Love that. All right. So, where can people find all of these resources and connect with you on social media as well?
Yes, the easiest thing is to go to the website, therewiredself.com. Little tongue twister. There you'll be able to see how to find me. I am on Instagram at Coach Krystal Rose, and on Spotify, Apple, and a few other platforms for the podcast. Definitely suggest going to the website first, because that's where you're going to find free hypnosis recordings, meditation recordings, free digital workbooks to help you get the process started. And I also offer free virtual classes, one on anxiety, how to rewire your mind and body with anxiety, as well as self-love. So the rewiredself.com.
Krystal, ah, I wish I would have known you like 20 years ago.
I wish I would have known myself.
And then like see the difference because you're such a light. Like you just feel so
Yeah.
like, you're
Thank you.
experiencing the light of life. And I feel that. And it's amazing the transformation that you've gone through. And really, I mean, obviously you had to hit some challenging points in the process, but it was your choice, right? Your choice to pursue this. And so I admire your intentionality to pursue your own health. And I just really admire your willingness to share it with other people. So thank you for all that you're doing in the world.
Thank you, David. And thank you for creating this beautiful platform to be able to share experiences like this. And I know there's other people who resonate with my story. And you can learn more about my story on the website. But thank you so much, David, for creating this platform and having me. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Awaken Magazine podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and our other conversations, would you mind taking a moment to leave a 5-star review and maybe even a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? That's one of the ways that you can give back to the show and help us reach more people. And of course, feel free to share the episode with a friend. And if you're not already on our email list, we send out an inspiring email every Monday morning full of articles and interviews. Just head on over to awakenedmagazine.com and click subscribe and join for free. Our hope is that all the resources we share will help our world continue awakening to love.